Have you ever felt overwhelmed by the flood of emotions that hit you when you're stepping up in life? This client, a man in his mid-30s, he knows this challenge well. As he tries to make his ideas a reality, he first encounters emotions that he didn't even know how to handle. Today's session, we dive into the expectations of being a man and feeling emotions. He questions what it is to be a real man. He's looking for specific tools to help him, especially since he felt so much change from our last sessions together. By the way, if you missed those episodes, then check out the comments below. As he walks this newly lit path based on decisions and insights from our previous sessions together, he finds himself swamped with new emotions, and what he's looking for is to really get understanding and ways to manage them. These are new to him as he finds himself out of his comfort zone, having decided a new direction. And this is our intention for our time together. I will discuss with the client the difficulty of adjusting to a new comfort zone when we decide to make changes in our lives, and the challenge of staying there when our old habits want to pull us back. I'll be narrating this story, including real parts from our session, so join us where we explore his journey of emotional mastery and self-discovery, guided by insights received throughout, where each step is shaped by compassion and a deeper connection to his true self.
After this session, I start to have it in my mind and new things start to appear. And now these last days, I'm in the theme of I'm integrating my emotions now. I'm trying to materialize what I think, and the first thing that I materialize with my thoughts are my emotions. And sometimes I avoid emotions. So in these days, I was like, okay, I want to feel more of my emotions.
I was talking to a dear friend, and we were talking about the difficulty of being a man. I don't know what it's like, of course, I'm not a man. What we were talking about was what men struggle with, because we know what women struggle with. It's very well known. And perhaps there are some things that aren't well known. I don't think I can say that as an absolute, but there's certainly been a spotlight on women, but not so much on men's challenges. And one of the big challenges is the permission for men to feel, number one. And then the permission for men to express what they feel. So it's kind of get some realizations in place in your neural pathways. Let's put some bulbs in those neural pathways, because when we do, it allows our thoughts to travel down those neural pathways, because typically what happens in the brain is we as humans, we like to stay in the same position. We like to stay in what's called our comfort zone, right? And the moment we do the work to go out of our comfort zone, that's cool, but it's like an elastic, right? There is a bit of a pullback, right? Yeah. And there's actually a term that I learned more recently from one of my mentors, and he was talking about the idea of neophobia. What does neo mean? New. Phobia is to be scared of. So it was to be scared of the new. And then we also get what's called behavioral homeostasis. So you know what homeostasis is, right? When the body is in its natural state, okay? Behavioral homeostasis is when the behaviors are in its natural state, but we've got to question what that natural state is. Because if it's in its comfort zone the whole time, then what do we tend to do? Follow the same programs, follow the same neural pathways, right? And the moment we expand into our comfort zone, sometimes what can happen is we can get a little bit scared, because now we have to hold a new space. Does it resonate?
A lot. Sounds perfect. Yeah.
And sometimes when we need to hold the space, we don't necessarily know how to hold that space, because it's bigger than when we were, but we haven't been here before, so we don't have any place to put our reference points, and so now our reptilian brain is going, yeah, I want to go back to where I know, because I know how to fight, or I know how to not access my emotions, and it feels safer there. And so automatically what happens is, and this is an invisible program that we have, we get pulled back down because in the body thinks we're under attack, but we're not really under attack. What we're doing is we're just expanding. As we proceed, the client engages in an exercise to affirm his beliefs about himself by repeating key phrases that I'm guided to use as a diagnostic tool. He says the phrases out loud, and then he rates how true these statements feel to him within his body. We're exploring his emotional connections to concepts of masculinity, power, and self-expression. Through this process, we're able to uncover the emotions that are linked to these beliefs, particularly focusing on the feelings of guilt and shame that surface, and we discuss their impacts on his sense of self. So let's just close our eyes and connect. So just make sure that both feet are flat on the ground, and as always, we just repeat this phrase after me, and what I want you to do is to give it a number between 1 and 10 and tell me how true it feels in your body. I am a real man.
I am a real man. 7.
And what else do you notice when you say that?
The first thing that I think is the money, the power.
And so if you're a 7 or an 8 out of 10, you feel like you're quite connected to whatever that idea is, 10 out of 10 of being a real man, yeah? Okay, cool. Brilliant. So that's a great number. I deserve to express myself unconditionally.
I deserve to express myself unconditionally. 10.
So it's 10 out of 10, so you believe it's 100% true.
Yes.
And then at the beginning of the conversation, you said you don't know how to express your emotions. So so you're saying to me, we got 10 out of 10, and that's okay, because it's a deserving phrase, right? So we're saying, you deserve to express it unconditionally, so that's good. You believe that you should. So maybe it sounds like to me, it's a little bit of, I don't know how to express it. Is that right?
Yeah. I feel that I deserve. When I say it, I feel that it's right. But it's true that I don't know how to express it sometimes, because I feel that I'm gonna create like a chaos when I say my truth. I'm trying to avoid the chaos that I think that I'm gonna create when I express my truth. When I have something to say to someone sometimes in a conversation or...
Okay, so what does that feeling of chaos feel like? So it's coming from somewhere. There's a thread on this, right? There's a layer where in the past you've expressed your chaos and something happened. So what does the feeling give you in your body when you've expressed your emotions and you've caused chaos? What feeling does that make in your body?
Like a guilty.
Okay, what else?
Shame.
Anything else?
It's like a pressure here.
Pressure on the chest.
Yeah.
And between the guilt and the shame, which one would you say is more intense? Maybe you can give them numbers.
Guilty is 4, 5. Shame more. 7, 8. Yeah, shame more.
So shame is heavier for you, okay? And what do you notice about this circle that contains that shame that was in your chest that was creating a pressure?
Yeah, it's like in red color. It's like an anger.
Using the diagnostic phrases has been really helpful to pinpoint where the client is with his belief systems and what the hidden narrative is. We discover that he has a fear of creating chaos when he says what he really feels, and this is really what holds him back in a lot of interactions with people. This is a really good example of an old pattern that's holding him back. Next, the client engages in a dialogue with his shame. This is a wounded part of himself, and we treat it as an entity that is conscious to basically uncover what it's truly angry about. This introspective conversation reveals profound insights into his past experiences and how they shape his current feelings about masculinity. You see, the energies remain in his mind as a belief system, which becomes a driving force of his actual behavior. Remember, how we feel creates what we think. What we think creates our behaviors and, in turn, of course, our reality. So, if we change these feelings of guilt and shame, which are the root cause, we can change what actions Gus takes in the world, thus putting him in the driver's seat. What we want to do is explore what these belief systems are so that we can let go of them or change those that are not helpful. How we get there is to work through this imaginary place I call the field. I start off by asking the client to imagine as if he's in this wide open field of grass. The sun is shining and it's a safe space. And then I ask him to imagine drawing either the figure 8 out in front of him or to draw circles and drop them within this field. It doesn't really matter where they're placed. We use these imaginary forms and shapes as containers to put the energy in so that we can communicate with these energies and receive information. And as we begin with Gus, the first image that he sees is a version of himself in a past life when he was a shameful female. You see, the imagination communicates with us in a myriad ways, and so whilst it may seem strange that Gus sees himself in another lifetime as a female, that's totally fine, it's all information. We put this version of himself, which is wounded, in the opposite side of the figure 8, the infinity symbol, and then the shame we put in a separate circle so we can communicate with it. We also see images of his father, which we also place in a separate circle, as he is faced with the question of what it is to be a real man. We rejoin the session where Gus is experiencing shame and we start to communicate with it to see what we can uncover. Okay. Ask the shame, just imagine that it's a consciousness and you can communicate because, we just communicate telepathically about things. Ask the shame, what is it angry about? And let me know what the shame says.
This is how I learn to express. I feel shame to be a man.
So let's just ask our higher self, when was the first time you experienced that shame to be a man, the earliest and most intense experience? And remember, you're just asking for information. It might be from this lifetime, from previous.
Okay, there is coming like image. Maybe this is because recently I knew that the mother of my grandmother and her mother, both of them was like rape. And one of my first regression, when I was 18, I didn't know about all of this. I went to a past life that I was raped. And I felt I was a woman and I was raped. So in this life, I always was a little bit like not like my friends about sex with women. So, and I understand more the woman, and I never understood the men in the ways of like this masculinity of who fuck more and take actions and all of these things. So I went to the other side to be more in my feminine because it was more comfortable. So when I'm thinking all of this, it's coming my dad. I don't know, my dad telling me things about like to be a man.
Okay, that's good. It's all information. Well done. It's excellent. So let's just drop another circle in the field. And let's just drop your dad in there. Firstly, what do you notice about your circle with the dad in, the circle with your dad in?
The first thing that I know is love, big love.
And ask him what his version is to be a man.
To have a family, to have a house, to have a car, to be good financially, to create a family.
And how does that feel, all of those things, when you hear that? How does that land with you?
I mean, it feels okay. I agree with all of that, but not the ways, in different ways, maybe. But I would love to have my own stability, my family.
As we reach the halfway point in our session with Gus, we've examined his struggles with expressing his emotions and understanding his identity. We can see how the way he treats women is based on a memory from his past life of how women were treated badly. So this is influencing his very life now. This leaves him a bit split, where he doesn't quite understand the modern day men's approach of conquering women. In communicating with his dad, Gus is split once again because his dad's version of what it means to be a real man is different to his. And this can be difficult for us when we see ourselves as different and when we feel judged for it, especially by our family. This is where his difficulty in expressing himself and concern for creating chaos has come from, that he mentioned right at the beginning of our session. If we can untangle this belief, it could lead Gus to feeling more certain in his real life to say what he feels is right and not hold himself back anymore. In this next part, we're focusing on communicating with that past version of himself that was a female many lifetimes ago. It's important that we address the shame that she was feeling so that that energy no longer continues to be an undercurrent in Gus's field in his life right now. That shame of the woman led him to experience feeling shame as a man. Shame is an emotion that vibrates at a very low frequency, so we really want to address that. You see, this is how energy works. It always seeks to be resolved, and when we give our pain movement by looking at it, acknowledging it, and giving it compassion, we can actually dissolve that. And when that version of himself feels better or creates a new belief system in his heart and his mind about that situation, then the frequency is changed within. And when we feel better within, we think more positively in our minds. And when we think more positively, we create more positively. This is how Gus will learn to manage the whirlwind of emotions he spoke about at the very beginning of this session. So let's go ahead and dive back in. So let's go back to that shame. So you had the shame to be a man, and then we landed up talking about that past life of being raped, and maybe that's where we need to head. And so just imagine that infinity symbol in front of you, a figure eight. So just move your dad over to a free space. And in the one side of the figure eight, you're going to put your now self, and in the other side, you're going to put that version of yourself, that past life version of yourself. And it sounded like she was female. Is that right? And ask her, how is she feeling, and let me know what she says.
The first thing that came was like anger and alone, scare, like appear like image of crying, a lot of crying.
Why is she crying? Do you know? Can you ask her why is she crying?
Someone took her baby.
And what happened?
She's like in a bed with like change in the arms or in one arm, and like someone is going sometimes and just having sex, like raping her. I don't know the reason.
And she had a baby and it was taken away from her?
Yeah.
And what decision has she made about the world?
The only word that she knows is the pain and suffering of the loss.
That female version of yourself in a past life. And say, I'm so sorry you're angry.
I'm so sorry that you're angry.
I'm so sorry you're alone.
I'm so sorry that you're alone.
I'm so sorry you're scared.
I'm so sorry that you're scared.
I'm so sorry they took your baby.
I'm so sorry that they took your baby.
I'm so sorry that they took your body.
I'm so sorry that they took your body.
At this point in our session, I'll check on the emotional progress that Gus has made by checking in with that past life self that is on the other side of the figure eight, asking her how she's doing and how she's feeling. We'll observe a significant shift in the way he now views shame, which has changed into a calm and clear blue, symbolizing peace. I also explore changes in his relationship with his father, whose perspectives on masculinity have also evolved to recognize that being a man can mean different things for different people. This new understanding empowers Gus to define his manhood on his own terms, fueling his excitement to carve out his own unique path, the very reason that we're all here on this planet. These shifts in the visuals that Gus sees comes from giving the self-directed compassion to those parts of himself that are wounded. And even though he doesn't focus on giving the compassion to his dad, that image of his dad and the beliefs of his dad still transform into a more positive direction. And when those images change, he too feels different. I'm just checking back in with the woman. How's she feeling? Ask her how she's feeling and let me know what she says.
She's now like relaxed, sleeping.
Can you ask her how she's feeling? Or does she just want to sleep?
She says she feels ready to sleep.
Okay. What do you notice about that circle of shame?
It's like a blue, like a more relaxed, like a chill color. Now there is no like irritation. It's like clear.
So let's just Check in also with your dad. Ask him how he's doing or see what you notice about the circle.
He changed the appearance. Before he was like a little bit old, sad position. Now he seems like when he was like the 40s.
And what does he believe now about what a real man is?
He knows now that he's understanding now about and that for each person is different.
So how does it feel? I didn't get an answer if you did answer, but how does it feel to have him understand or to share that understanding that each person's interpretation of a man is different?
It's like I feel also like an excitement, so I can create my own way to be a man, not follow anything.
This is huge for Gus. Finally, he feels seen by his father, and this is what invokes the excitement for him to be in this new comfort zone, a place that he's never been before. He now has the confidence to create in his own way, which will lead him to no longer being afraid of creating chaos when he says something that he truly feels. As we move towards integrating these changes, I start to see that he is reconnected with this past life self, and there are transformative changes in her expression, a shift from pain to gratitude, indicating a profound emotional release, something that she had never felt before. And as we check in now, we find that the energy of shame is completely dissipated, signifying a powerful moment of healing and liberation. Okay, so just taking a deep breath in and out, and let's just settle back down into our heart space, sending warm, loving energy throughout your whole body, your whole energy field, across all time, space, and realities, and across to that past life self who's a woman and she was relaxed and sleeping. And we're just going to send her compassion. Say, I'm so sorry that you had to push down the pain so that you didn't feel it.
I'm so sorry you have to push down your pain so you don't feel it. You couldn't feel it.
I'm so sorry it was easier to push the pain away than it was to feel it.
I'm so sorry that it was easier to push down the feeling, the feeling.
I'm so sorry you were so misunderstood.
I'm so sorry that you was so misunderstood.
I'm so sorry you believed their lies.
I'm so sorry that you believe their lies.
And let's just check back in with that past life self. Ask her how she's feeling.
She have light in the face. She's feeling grateful for being seen.
What do you notice about that circle of shame?
There is no more shame.
To integrate everything we've learned in this session, the client engages in a powerful visualization exercise. Remember, the mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is in the imagination, and so this is why visualizations are so powerful. If we feel the feelings of what we're seeing, this is how we create. So he imagines his past life and his current selves all merging together, symbolized by the giving and receiving of a lapis lazuli stone, which represents wisdom and self-realization, and this assists in allowing one to speak their truth. We conclude the session by expressing gratitude for his spiritual guides for their support. I check in with Gus to see how intense the shame is now. At the beginning of the session, it was super intense for him, being an 8 out of 10, so he was really feeling a lot of shame. So at the beginning, we were talking about how you were ashamed to be a man and you gave it an 8 out of 10.
1.
And let's check in with your dad. What do you notice about the circle?
He is proud of me as expressing myself.
And if you could say something to your dad right now, what would it be?
It's okay to put your limits and express your emotions. It's okay to be a sensible man. It's okay to have feelings and to feel sometimes that we don't know where to go, what to do. We are lost also. So it's okay to be able to express.
Anything else?
And I love him. I'm grateful to have a dad like him.
Let's just check back in with that past life version of yourself. How's she feeling?
She's just stand up. She's not anymore in the bed. She's okay. With a smile in the face. They has opportunities She seems strong. She feels strong.
And just imagine that out of her pocket she gives you the lapis lazuli stone. And just imagine that she gives you this beautiful necklace, and she steps forward and she puts it around your neck. And just allow that to integrate into you, and just give her a big hug and thank her for showing herself and allowing her to come through. And as you do, you just integrate that. And we just turn to that circle that had the shame in, and we just gently allow it to drift away. It's all gone. So we just allow that to just dissolve and go back into the ether. And we just turn to your dad and let your dad go back to where he came from, thanking him for recognizing you for who you are, to getting to that stage of feeling proud and understanding that there are different ways to see the same thing. And just allow him to leave. And then just bow your head to yourself, Gus, thanking yourself for showing up, for opening your heart, for being different. As we wrap up this session, we witness Gus's journey from wrestling with emotional vulnerability to embracing a more authentic expression of his masculinity. We saw how in the beginning the energy of his dad was unapproving of what Gus thought it was to be a real man, hence he was feeling shame. This shame had also come through from a memory of his past life where he was a woman who was also feeling shame because she had been taken advantage of. See, this same thread was causing Gus in his real life reluctance to actually say what he feels, because he had that underlying belief that if he did, he would cause chaos. It's a strange thing how all this energy can get tangled up, but through our efforts of giving self-directed compassion, we saw how Gus came to the realization that his view of what it was to be a real man, it was indeed relevant. He released the feelings of that shame that he was experiencing. That means going forward, he'll be attracting less shame because there's no longer a reference point for that shame to hook into. This transformation shows the incredible capability of the body as a technology, a tool that manifests our deepest feelings, but also reveals our underlying beliefs. Today's work demonstrates how connecting with our inner selves and acknowledging our pain can lead to profound changes within our belief system. By tuning into what our bodies are telling us and integrating these insights, we can align more closely with the true parts, changing our behavior and what we create for ourselves in this world. If you're moved by Gus's story and you're curious about exploring your own personal growth and self-discovery, consider subscribing and following for more stories like this. For those interested in experiencing similar transformation, details on how to book a session can be found in the comments section and the details section below. Let's journey together and uncover more and embrace the deeper truths about ourselves. Thanks so much for watching Growing Through Grace. Real stories, real change.